Welcome everyone to the clash between Divya Deshmukh on your screen and Koneru Humpy at the finals of the FIDE World Cup 2025. Well, it has been an incredibly close battle between these two players. Divya is on your screen, Humpy is yet to arrive. First two classical games ended in a draw. The first rapid game of 15 plus 10 also was very even, and Divya was under some pressure in that game, but then she turned it around and at some point was also pressing, finally ended in a draw. And now we have Humpy, who has the white pieces in the second 15 plus 10 game. Now in this particular encounter, slightly more pressure on Divya because she's black. Also, she has a lot to gain if she manages to win this title, because not only will she become the champion, but she'll also achieve her GM title, which will be huge. It will be the 88th Grandmaster for India and the fourth ever female player to achieve the title. Humpy was the first one, then Harika, then Vaishali, and then Divya. Just a small note, recording this commentary from the Mumbai airport, going to New Delhi for the Esports World Cup commentary. And for now, let's get back our attention to Batumi, Georgia. Humpy is adjusting her pieces. Divya looking super relaxed. The game is about to begin. It's also the battle of generations of Indian chess. Humpy born in 1986. Divya born in 2005. Wow. The players are ready, a handshake, and off we go. Humpy opens the game with d4, d5 by Divya, blitzed out there. c4, e6, queen's gambit declined on the board. The knight comes out to f3. We have knight f6, and Humpy goes for the Catalan with g3. Divya quickly takes the pawn on c4. The open Catalan is what she wants to play. Bishop g2 gives a check to the king, and here Humpy blocks it with her bishop. Pawn to a5, a very nice move. In general, queen c2, attacking the pawn on c4, and Divya chops off the bishop on d2. You can take with the queen or you can take with the knight. Both look fine. Takes with the knight, attacking the pawn on c4, and b5 played, defending it here. Pawn comes up to a4, trying to break up the structure here, and Divya fortifies it with c6, b3, a typical pawn sacrifice here played by Humpy. Divya takes it, and now knight takes b3. You will see that the c6 pawn is a bit weak. Also the c5 square, Divya quickly castles it out, and also Humpy does the same. So black is a pawn down, black is a pawn up, white is a pawn down, but white does have compensation here. Divya takes the pawn because she wants to put her bishop on b5. Takes here on a6, and now rook takes on a6, defending the pawn on c6. White takes, rook takes a4, and now knight comes out to d7. You can see how the rook is defending c6 and also the a5 pawn. Rook a1. Humpy knows that if she manages to win either one of these two pawns, it would be something really nice for her, because then she can put a lot of pressure. Knight is coming to c4, rook a8 by Divya, defending the pawn on a5, e3, protecting here. Knight comes into the center of the board, knight d5, and now Humpy goes knight to c4. She attacks the queen. Divya comes back, keeping an eye on the a5 pawn. Queen d2, 4 attackers on this square. Divya plays knight to b6, offering a trade. She takes, queen takes, and so you cannot win this pawn now. 3 attackers, 3 defenders, attacking the c6 pawn here. Knight f6. Divya wants to put her knight on d5. Humpy goes rook c1 with even more pressure. Knight to d5 played, and Humpy takes a kind of questionable decision. She takes back ed5 because cd5, I think there was a check. Maybe she was a bit worried about this line, so she takes back ed5. Rook a1 played, h6, and now we reach a position where Divya is a pawn up. She goes queen b5, but how easy is it to break through from this position? It's super difficult because On one hand, you have a weakness on c6. On the other hand, a5 is also a bit weak. Queen comes back to c7. The queen goes to c5. And do you want to trade queens? I believe not. So Humpy goes back, queen c3. And I think you can just play rook a1, rook a2. And I don't think either of the players can make any progress. Rook b2, attacking the queen. The queen goes back to d8. She goes back. h5 played, maybe with the idea of trying to do something on the king side, but Humpy quickly blocks it with h4. Divya goes g6. Well, I think the only active plan that Divya can go for is eventually g5, but that too looks super risky in the position. His white king is pretty safe, structure is pretty good. King g1 played, and now king comes up to g7, king g2, just repeating the position. Queen comes to d8, and now attacks queen c5. Goes rook a7, waiting. Well, both players are kind of waiting, but Divya has like 6 minutes on the clock while Humpy has only 56 seconds. So that is something to Divya's advantage for the time lead that she had built up. And Humpy goes wrong here. She pushes her pawn to e4 and Divya takes it. I think Humpy maybe got a bit ambitious there, perhaps. d5, it's a mistake now. Queen e5 pins the pawn and it's actually winning for black. Divya finds it. Beautiful move. And now Humpy in big trouble. She goes rook d1, but you can go rook d8, pinning the pawn. But instead she takes. Divya's advantage is slightly lost there. Rook takes d5. Queen comes back to e8, attacking the rook here. But now rook takes a5 is possible perhaps with this idea. Very interesting idea. She goes queen d4. Look at this. Rook a5, and queen c3 check and you win here. But anyway, goes check, king g8, and Humpy plays rook e5. Divya brings her queen to c6 and now trades. Queen takes e4. Queen takes on e4. Rook takes e4 taken. And the position is now very even. But Divya has an extra pawn, although it's blockaded, and rook endgames are notorious for their drawing tendencies. Rook f5 played, activating the rook from the side. Now what Divya has done at the cost of spoiling her structure is made white rook super passive. She brings her king in, and her hope is that her king can go all the way here to stop, to sort of unblock the a pawn. King e5 played by Humpy. And now Divya plays rook a6. The position is equal. The bar suggests equality here, but Divya pushes the pawn now. Coming back king e4 is important, but a huge blunder by Humpy, allowing Divya to push the pawn forward with a4. Now the a pawn is just simply running down the board. Humpy makes a huge error. I don't know, maybe she missed something there. She has to come back, rook b1, and now a2 is coming in, but Divya first activates the king. f3 played and a2, a good move. Rook a1, she puts her rook here. Fantastic chess. Rook takes f3 and g3, everything is hanging. She waits here with f6, and now a very good way to win is rook check. King moves away, take on f3, take on g3, you should be winning. But Divya kind of cuts off the 4th rank. King moves forward, cuts it off on the 5th rank now. What exactly is she doing? She's letting the Humpy's king go right into the heart of the position. She's still winning, but it's getting tougher and trickier. And now Humpy can actually push her pawn to g4. She plays it, g4 with 22 seconds. Another check to the king, and king c6. And f5 is important, but Divya blunders with king f4. Now Humpy is back in the game. G takes h5 has to be played. Finds it. G takes h5 on the board. Divya takes the pawn on f3. And now king d5, very important move. But instead she goes h6. Divya should fight king e4 to block the king from coming back. Very important here. Can Divya find it? No, she goes f5. A mistake, king d5. Humpy can bring her king in. And Humpy is thinking here. She has 27 seconds. She finds it. f4 played, and now king e5, very important move, but she instead blunders with h7. Oh my goodness. Divya is now totally winning. She takes the pawn. Yes, Humpy will win the a2 pawn, but that's not going to be enough because now rook takes pawn. King g3 played. Another fantastic move. Threatening f3, f2. Rook a8 played. Rook takes h4. Divya is on the offensive now, completely winning. Rook check. Humpy just gives this check. Divya blocks it. Now the f pawn is just queening. There's no way to stop it. She brings a rook. Pawn push. The king is cut off. And it's all over. King e5 played. f2. Divya is on course to winning. Look at her. She puts her hand on her mouth. She knows that the victory is close. Humpy resigns. Divya is the champion. She can't believe it. She has tears in her eyes. And what a win here for Divya Deshmukh. Not only becoming the Women's World Cup 2025 champion, but also India's 88th Grandmaster. That handshake from the FIDE president Arkady Dorkovich. Tears in her eyes. So much hard work, so much persistence. And Divya looks out for her mother there and wants to go for a hug. Michael Rahal is there to do an interview with her, but I think Divya has her priorities there. She wants to go and meet her mother because that's a very important. She tells a minute and she goes away. What a moment for Indian chess. Let's dive into the key moments of the game. Here the position was equal and Divya tried her best to unsettle the position with f4. If Humpy had played king e4 here, then the game would have been equal. Let's imagine a few moves here, check, rook comes to the side, takes, rook g4, and this would have ended in equality. However, instead she took with the rook here, which was a very dubious decision by Humpy, allowing Divya to push her pawn forward, and then a2 and rook a3. At this point, Divya played beautifully, and the easiest way to win would have been a check, king c4 or king c5. Let's imagine king c4 here. Rook takes f3, rook takes a2, rook takes g3. You can even, by the way, go king g4, take this, and this position is winning with these two pawns because the white king is cut off on the rank. Instead, she went rook a4 and she started cutting the white king off this way, which I'm not so sure, and Humpy finally found counterplay. Check, king here, and now Divya had a very important move to make, which was f5. The reason for this move is that after gf5 she can go back with her king to f6 and then chop off all these pawns. Instead, she went king f4, which allowed Humpy to take. Divya took the pawn, and now if Humpy had found the move king d5, she would have had drawn the game because king g4, h6, king h5, h7, and now in this position somehow the black king is too far away and the white king is near, and this is not queening. But in the game, Humpy made a mistake with h6 and Divya had to instantly come here to shoulder the white king from coming back. But Divya made a mistake with f5 and this was Humpy's chance. She took it, king d5, f4, and now if she had found king e5, this would have resulted in a win, in a draw for white, because after, let's say, king g3, you can now play a very interesting move here, king f6, and suddenly you've changed from defense, you've gone on the attack here, and I think this was very difficult to spot with such less time. After f2, h7, and this is now a draw because I go here, and now not king g7 because of king g2, and somehow you are winning here, queen, take, queen, and black wins. But rather, to start off with the move here, rook a8, king g7, instead of king g7, h5 here, very important. And after king g2, h8 queen, very important, takes, and rook takes a2, then take this pawn and queen here. So these were some very tricky lines that had to be found. Instead, she went h7 here, which was a final error by Humpy. Divya took the pawn, Humpy took here, but now if you see, the black king is perfectly positioned to just shepherd the pawn towards queening, and there was just nothing to be done, and Divya went on to win the title.